Hey, 144 kids, welcome to the recap where we review what we did, what you may have missed, and for all of us to learn together. Don't forget to sign up for more. Check out our merch store for one of these cool things and get down on to Bible Pathway Adventures. We have links below, and subscribe to be in the group, to be part of the gang, a sheep in the fold, you get the point. Enjoy, okay? Perfect. All right. And so all these stories we've covered in past slides over the last 9 to 10 weeks over the Torah Time Traveler, a little bit longer if you add in the fillers. And so, okay. All right. I think we're ready. Let's dive into these questions. Let me pull up my little video so I can make sure I can see you guys. Perfect. Okay. Let's dive into these questions. Some of them should be easy. Some of them might be a little hard. So tell me, on which day of creation did Yah create vegetation and plants? First day, second day, third day, or fourth day? Come on, guys. Page 1. I'm seeing some C's. All right, let's check it out. Drum roll, please. All right, you guys gotta calm down. Let's take a look and see what the scripture says. So this is Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, and then through chapter 2 and 3. And Yah said, let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees bearing fruit, in which is their seed. So this is his sprouting vegetation, each according to its kind on the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed according to their own kinds, and trees bearing fruit, which is in their seed, each according to its kind. And Yah said it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the third day. If you put C, third day, you are correct. If you put C, third day, according to this scripture, you are correct. Third day. You can see here on this little diagram, like some of the things that were made, the birds of the air, the fish of the sea, that was day 5. The 7th was the Sabbath day. Day 6 was the land animals. Day 4, we had the lights in the sky. The sun and the moon were created on day 4. So this is cool. Good job, guys. Good job. If you put third day, you are correct. All right, new question is, what river is not mentioned as one of the 4 rivers flowing from Eden? Is it Pison? I think that's how you pronounce it. Gihon, Tigris, or the Jordan? Which one is not mentioned as flowing as one of the 4 rivers flowing from Eden? All right, for this, we're going to need to go to Genesis chapter 2. We're going to need to go to Genesis chapter 2 to see if we can find this answer. Going down to verse 10. All right, let me pull up this scripture, because this is what we do. When we get questions, we go and we pull it up. We go and pull it up and we look. All right, so we're in Genesis chapter 2, right? Genesis chapter 2, and we're going to go down to verse 10. Check this out right here. This blue part that's highlighted. A river flowed out of Eden to water the garden, and there divided became 4 rivers. The first was Pison, so that's not the answer. We got it right there. It is the one. It is the one that flowed around the whole land of Havilah, where there's gold. The gold of that land is good. Bdellium, onyx stone are there. The second river is Gihon, so it's not B. It's the one that flowed around the whole land of Cush. And the third name of the river, or the third river, is Tigris. So the only river that did not flow out of Eden would be D, the Jordan River. The answer is D. All of these are biblical rivers in scripture. So let's go to this next one. So like I said, the answer was D, the Jordan River. D, the Jordan River does not flow out of the Garden of Eden. If it did, it'd be a very easy way to find the Garden of Eden, right? All right. Next question. What was Cain's job? A, was he taking care of the sheep? B, growing food from the ground? C, was he hunting animals? Or D, was he catching fish? Because we got too many spammers in here, I'm giving you 10 seconds and I'm shutting down the chat until we can get good at just putting one letter in there. Some of you guys, let's scroll back up. A lot of you guys put B. I see a lot of B's in here. Amia, Izzy, Sally, Maya, Justin, Catherine. I see a lot of B's. I see an A once or twice, but it looks like a unanimous B, growing food from the ground. Let's take a look at what scripture has to say. This is important. Let's take a look at what scripture has to say. Jamal put E. I don't know how you became a leader, buddy. Chapter 4, verse 1 through 16. These are just the first 4 verses right here. Hey now. It says, there we go. Now Adam knew Eve his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, saying, I have gotten a man with the help of Yah. And again she bore his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of the sheep, and Cain was a worker of the ground. A worker of the ground. His job was to grow food from the ground. So if you put B, you are correct. You put B, you are correct. All right, next question. How old was Noah when the big flood came? How old was Noah when the big flood came? How old was he? These numbers are crazy, by the way. I mean, absolutely mad, like madness. So, chat open. 10 seconds. What's your answer? And 1 time. Let's see. I see C. I see B. I see A. Let's take a look at what scripture has to say. How old was Noah when the flood came? Let's take a look. Genesis chapter 7, verse 6. Noah was 600 years old. 600 years old. Not 550. 600 years old when the flood waters came. It says it twice in here. It says it twice here. In the 600th year of Noah's life. In the 2nd month and the 17th day of the month. 600. It says it twice in Genesis chapter 7. If you put C, you are correct. Yes, if you put 600 years old, you got it right. Remember, Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his generation, and Noah walked with Elohim. That's Genesis chapter 6, verse 9. All right. Next question. What did the dove bring back to Noah the second time he sent it out? The second time Noah sent out the dove, what did that dove bring back? Did that bird bring back a fish, an olive leaf, a small stick, or nothing at all? Remember, the dove was sent out 2 different times. The second time, what was brought back? All right. And I also put this raven here just as a reminder. The raven was sent first. That was the first bird that was sent out. Ravens don't get a good rap in history, but biblically, they're used a lot in scripture. So Genesis chapter 8, verse 3 through 12. If we jump down here, it says, then he sent forth a dove from him to see if the waters had subsided. That means if the waters had went back and dried up from the face of the ground. But the dove found no place to set her foot and returned to him to the ark. That was the first time. For the waters were still on the face of the whole earth. So he put out his hand and took her and brought her into the ark with him. He waited another 7 days again and sent forth the dove from the ark. And the dove came back to him in the evening. And behold, in her mouth was a freshly plucked olive leaf. Olive leaf. If you put B, you are correct. The answer is B. Olive leaf. If you put olive leaf, you're correct. Like I said, some of these will be easier for you, but real quick, show of hands, who's 100%? Let's keep going. We got a couple more, just a couple more.
Oi, Austin, you never guessed, buddy. I read something interesting today.
What? Yeah, what'd you read?
Yeah, if you go down to, I think it's Second Chronicles 26, 21, it was like, just read it really quick.
It says, King Uzziah was a leper until the day of his death, and dwelt in a separate house, being a leper, for he was cut off from the house of Yah. And Jotham, his son, was over the king's house, judging the people of the land.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, man, that's crazy. That's gotta be tough, man. To be a leper and have to be separated in a completely different house because of it I can't imagine.
No, not that part. I mean, he would need to be in another house because, he would eat everybody. Yeah.
Eat everybody? What you talking about?
Because he's a leopard. It says it right there.
Lepers don't eat people.
What are you talking about? Leopards can eat people.
It's leper, not leopard. Not the animal. Leper.
Leper.
All right. Next question. How many days and nights did it rain during the flood? Not how many days was he on the ark. That's a completely different question. Those are not the same numbers. I just want to know how many days and nights did it rain on the flood, on the ark. You're correct. 40 days and 40 nights. It rained from the waters, the windows above and the fountains of the deep. The windows above and the fountains of the deep for 40 days and 40 nights. Now, how long was Noah and his family on the ark, though? 2 years? Oh, see, now we got to pull up the scripture. I got too many conflicting answers. Now we got to pull up the scripture. Hold on. So here we go. So this is good. We're going to do some biblical detective work. So this is Genesis chapter 7, right? For those of you that are putting 150 days, this is why people are putting 150. The last verse in Genesis chapter 7 says this, and the waters prevailed on the earth 150 days. And let's read the verse before it. It says, he blotted out every living thing that was on the face of the ground, man and animals, creeping things and birds of the heavens. They were blotted out from the earth, which means they were killed. Now only Noah was left and those who were with him on the ark, and the waters prevailed on the earth for 150 days. 150 days. Now, after that, we see, it says right here in verse 3, this is also where people are getting it from, chapter 8, verse 3, and the waters receded from the earth continually. At the end of 150 days, the waters had abated. In the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat, and the waters continued to abate until the 10th month. So it said after 150 days, the waters continue to recede, continue to move back. On the 10th month, on the first day of the month, the tops of the mountains were seen. And at the end of 40 days, Noah opened up the window of the ark. So for those who are saying 150 days, you were kind of correct, but actually it was over a year if you add it all up. But this is why. But I'm encouraging you guys, go back. This is a great Shabbat Bible study, Blues Clues, because I could be wrong. But why people are putting 150 days? Because it says it right here. But chapter 8, Genesis chapter 8, verses 4 all the way down, it talks about more time when they're on the ark. He didn't send out the dove till after the 150 days. Till after the 150 days. After 150 days, the waters started to recede. But they didn't actually get out the ark on the 150th day. They were still on the ark. It just, the water it started to slowly drain after 150 days. And so that's why people say over a year. That's why people are saying over a year. So go back and read Genesis chapter 8, Genesis chapter 7 and Genesis chapter 8. But it would have been over 150 days. It would have been over 150 days. Now, how long exactly? That's what people are trying to calculate. But it wouldn't have just been 150. It would have been a little bit more than 150. So good job. Good job, you guys. Good job to you guys. All right. Where are we at? Perfect. All right, let's keep going. We got a couple more questions. All right, let's jump to something else that we covered. We talked about the Tower of Babel. We went through that story. Now, quick question. In what place was the Tower of Babel built? A, was it built in Shinar? B, in Babylon? C, Nimrod? Or D, Chaldea? Chaldea. I'm seeing some A's. I'm seeing some B's. All right, let's take a look. In what place was the Tower of Babel built? Shinar, Babylon, or Nimrod? That looks like the ones that you guys picked. It looks like a lot of you guys put Shinar. Some of you guys put Babylon. And a few of you guys put Nimrod. Now, Nimrod's not a place. That's the name of somebody. So it can't be C, but it has to be between A or B. Chaldea also. Chaldea is short for the Chaldeans, right? It's a place, but that's not where the Tower of Babel was built. So it has to be between A or B, Babylon or Shinar. So Genesis chapter 11, verse 1 through 4, we covered this. It says, now the whole world had one language and one common speech. As people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. They said to each other, come, let's make bricks and bake them thoroughly. They used brick instead of stone for tar or mortar. And tar for mortar, excuse me. They said, let's build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches the heavens so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we'll be scattered over the face of the whole earth. They built the Tower of Babel in the plain of Shinar. Now, so that means the answer is A. The answer is A. But for those of you that put B, you get an honorary point, and this is why. So remember, first of all, for those of you that put Nimrod, here's the connection with Nimrod. Genesis chapter 10, verse 9 through 10. Nimrod was a mighty hunter, and therefore it was said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before Yah. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. So Nimrod had his kingdom built starting in Shinar. He was integral for building the Tower of Babel and other cities in the land of Shinar. So there's a connection there. But for those of you that put Babylon, you put B, remember, we went over this. Here is a, what do you call it? A nod to Babylon. So later in the book of Daniel, if you don't remember the book of Daniel, you got to listen to Dan and Luke sing it. They sang it. Remember, it ends with Rar, right? In the book of Daniel, it says the third year in the reign of King Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar was the king of Babylon. And what did he do? He came to Jerusalem and he besieged it. He took it. And Yah gave Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, into his hand and some of the vessels of the house of Elohim. And he brought them to the land of Shinar, to the house of his God. So Nebuchadnezzar kept his gods and his idols in the land of Shinar. So the Babylon was built around Shinar. And so the Tower of Babel was built in the land of Shinar, but also Babylon as well. So it couldn't have been built in Babylon. Babylon was built in Shinar. So, but if you put Babylon, there is the connection there based off of what we went over, right? Over those scriptures. So the answer was A, Shinar. If you put A, well done. All right. Ooh, we're pretty much out of time. All right. We got a couple more. We'll try one more question and then we'll head to groups. How old was Abram when he left Haran? How old was Abram when he left Haran? You guys don't have a clue. Well, drum roll, please. Let's take a look. Let's see what the scripture says. Drum roll, please. I take the drum roll seriously. Thank you. All right. Genesis chapter 12, verse 1 through 20, verse 4. So Abram went as Yah had told him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he left from Haran. This little picture right here is from a movie I probably shouldn't recommend, but that little gif is hilarious. 75 years old. If you put C, you are correct. A lot of y'all got this wrong. He left Haran at 75 years old. A little old to be taking a vacation, but hey, it is what it is. Can you imagine going on vacation at 75? Well, not really vacation. That was completely different. All right. Actually, I think we'll have time. We'll zoom through because I think we have one more. We have two more. And this is what was said about Abram. He said he'll make him a great nation and bless him, which is fantastic. All right, let's keep going. What were the Nephilim known as in the Bible? We talked about this. Angels, giants, spirits, or demons? Angels, giants, spirits, or demons? A, B, C, or D? Some of you guys put A, some of you guys put D, but a lot of you put B because that is correct. Giants is correct. Now, what happened? The angels, or the Malach, the fallen angels, chose to leave heaven and go and have children with women on earth, and their children were called giants, Nephilim. Nephilim could mean fallen ones, or it also could mean giants. And here's the Hebrew, the writing for the word Nephilim. So it means fallen one or giants. But if you put B, you are correct. You put B, you are correct. All right. And I think, is that the last one? It should be the last one. Oh, no. We also talked about how Goliath was a Nephilim descendant, a giant descendant. And there's some scriptures here, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, Genesis, and 1 Chronicles. Some references there we went over before. He came from a family of giants, as it says in 2 Samuel. Goliath was over 9 feet tall. It says in 1 Samuel. In Genesis chapter 6, it says it doesn't say his ancestors, but Genesis chapter 6, it outlines the ancestry. And then 1 Chronicles, it talks about Goliath also had family and relatives who were also giants. All right. Who went with Abraham when he left Haran? Who went with Abraham when he left Haran? Was it A, his father Terah, B, his nephew Lot, C, his brother Nahor, or D, his son Ishmael? One. Some of you guys already know you're putting B, and I agree. Genesis chapter 13, verse 1. Abraham went from Egypt, and he said he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him into the Negev. So it was Lot. Lot is the answer. So if you put B, you are correct. If you put B, is correct. And obviously we know that because later they picked different lands. And obviously the land that Abraham was promised ended up being the promised land. Super good. That's fantastic. Michelle, we got to ask these questions. These are important questions to ask. These are the things that biblical scholarship is all about.
Hey, we hope you enjoyed this recap session, and hopefully we can see you
and the 144 Kids on Shabbat, which is every Shabbat. That is Saturday if you need a hint. We take the first Shabbat of the month off, but these videos will be uploaded as soon as we can. If you haven't already, or maybe you just forgot to, subscribe here on the channel to stay up to date. Sign up to join us live for 144 Kids. And remember, Yeshua HaMashiach, our Messiah, man, he's the way and the only way. All you need are the Father's laws and commandments, his Torah, those Moedim, his feast days, those family holidays, and Yeshua, our Messiah. That right there, that's what we need moving forward. Man, we love you, and we cannot wait to see you in the next video. Hopefully we see you live on Shabbat. Until then, shalom. Peace be with you.